Hey Eagle fans, this is EaglefanKarl. This is going to be my preview prediction video for tomorrow afternoon's game against the Baltimore Ravens. Before I get into that, I do want to talk a little bit about something else. You'll see with my shirt on today. I want to talk a little bit about Star Wars Rogue One, which I saw the other night. Give you some of my thoughts on that. I'm not going to spoil anything if you haven't seen the movie, so don't worry about that. I really like the movie. People that are saying that it's better than Empire Strikes Back or some of the original movies, I wouldn't go that far. It's clearly better than anything that was in the prequels. It's probably on a par with The Force Awakens, is my personal opinion. I think I like The Force Awakens maybe a little bit better than Rogue One, but I really like Rogue One. One of the things I really liked about Rogue One is the fact that it added some more complexity to the rebellion. For those of you who don't know, the movie is a precursor right before Episode 4, and it adds some complexities to the rebellion that it doesn't make everything so black and white like it was in the original trilogy. So it really sort of adds some interesting dynamics to that, and maybe some of the disagreements that existed in the rebellion before everything you saw in the original movies. So I really like that. There's a scene at the end with Darth Vader that makes the whole movie worthwhile. The action scenes were great. They don't always go into as much character development as I would have liked, and that ends up having an effect on the movie as a whole, I think. But at any rate, that's sort of my thoughts on the movie. I thought it was really good, and if you're a Star Wars fan, absolutely. You probably have already seen it, but go out and see it if you haven't. All the Star Wars talk is leading into my Eagles-Ravens preview prediction because, as they say in the Star Wars movies, I have a bad feeling about this because I really don't see how the Eagles can win this game. Just look at the statistics of both of these teams. I think it's really going to become problematic for the Eagles to win this game. The Ravens defense is really good. They're especially good against the run, which if you watched my reaction video from the Redskins game, you know that I'm a big believer in the fact that we need to get back to the running game because too much has been put on Carson Wentz. Well, if you look at the way the Ravens have been playing against the run, most coaches would say, well, we're not going to be able to run against this team. We've got to throw the ball. So that, I think, is problematic going into this game because what we need to do as a team is start to reestablish the running game, and you're doing against a team that's probably the hardest in the league to shut down their running game. Let me give you an idea of how good the Ravens' running defense is. After the first week of the season, most people, I think at this point, it's a foregone conclusion. I think that Ezekiel Elliott is probably going to be the Rookie of the Year. The only person he probably has any sort of competition with is his teammate, his rookie quarterback. But I think Ezekiel Elliott has clearly been the Rookie of the Year. And after the first week against the Giants, when the Cowboys didn't get off to the greatest start, if you look at the rest of the season after that, the Ravens are the only team after that first game to hold Ezekiel Elliott to under 4 yards per carry. So that's as good as Ezekiel Elliott's been playing. That's as good as the Ravens' run game has been. As they were able to shut down Ezekiel Elliott to under 4 yards a carry, something that the rest of the league really wasn't able to do after that team got going. So that really gives you an idea of just how difficult I think it is going to be for us to run against this team. But if you look at their defense as a whole, it's really a solid defense across the board. They're fourth in overall yardage, and they're fourth in scoring. So they aren't giving up many yards, and they're not giving up points either. The area where they're a little bit not quite as at the top is in passing. They're 11th in the league in passing, but like I said, they're first in rushing defense. And they're also, they haven't been... They're still in the top half of the league, but they haven't been as great at getting to the quarterback. They're 14th in sacks, and their opponent's quarterback rating is 11th in the league in terms of what they've been giving up. So the passing game certainly is probably the area where they would be the weakest, but like I said, I'd encourage you to go back. I go through all the statistics as it relates to Carson Wentz this season and what he's on pace to do this year. In the reaction video I did of the Redskins game, it's really sort of problematic what we're asking a rookie quarterback to do. And if you were legitimately going to be putting a game plan in place, you'd probably try and throw the ball against this team. But how can you throw the ball when you've got limited weapons? One of the best weapons we've had all season, Darren Sproles, isn't going to play in the game. And he's great in that screen game or sort of an off-balance rushing attack. So he's not going to be available. You're going to be playing with a fourth or fifth string right tackle at this point. And some of the other guys in the offensive line aren't the guys that you started the season with. So really, when it comes down to it, I don't see how you can really try and throw the ball against this team. And that's what I think is so problematic about this game, is going into it, I just don't know how we would attack this defense. All that said, if you look at the other side of the ball, the Ravens' offense is been okay. It certainly is not if they had any sort of a decent offense, they'd easily be running away with their division. But as it is, they're struggling to stay into the wild card picture even, and potentially catch the Steelers for the division as well. They're 16th in overall yardage as it relates to their offense, and they're 22nd as it relates to points scored. So they're having a difficult time. They're on the bottom half of the league in terms of moving the ball, and then they're really having a difficult time scoring when they are moving the ball. Some of the reason for that, I think, is really their pass versus run breakdown, and that's the fact that they're 7th in passing offense, but 28th in rushing offense. So they clearly are not balanced in their pass versus run attack. So really, when we go into this game, stopping the passing attack is really the way we've got to sort of look at this. No surprise, Marty Morningwig's their offensive coordinator, and we all lived through what he did when he was under Andy Reid, and he just fed right into Andy's love of passing the ball over running. So it's no big surprise that Baltimore is heavy on the passing offense. But so that's sort of the way I think we've got to sort of approach this game, is we're just going to have to try and get at Joe Flacco. If we are, by any chance, going to have a chance to win this game, it's going to have to be through turnovers. Because that's the other thing. Sometimes, even if your offense isn't as great and their defense is good and their offense is mediocre, but our defense hasn't been that great either of late, then maybe the way you win it is through the third phase of the game, special teams. Well, Darren Sproles is out now. John Dorenbos, our long snapper, is out for the rest of the season. So two of the main players that we would use on special teams are out. So I don't know even how we make anything up in the special teams part of the game as well. So I think if there's any way we're going to win this game, it's going to be through turnovers. And to do that, we have to get pressure on Joe Flacco. It was a relief to finally see Fletcher Cox actually play a little bit better against the Redskins, because if we're going to have a chance to beat the Ravens, he's really going to have a good game and get a lot of pressure up the middle against Joe Flacco, get him uncomfortable, maybe get him throwing the ball away and putting the ball into bad positions where we can make interceptions, because I think that's really the only way we have any sort of shot at winning this game. Ultimately, like I said, I really do not like the Eagles in this game. For that reason, I'm going to have to pick against them. They showed me something after last week, and I'd said I wouldn't pick them until they showed me something. Well, they finally showed me something, but still, just looking at the matchups, this is not a good matchup. The only other thing that could potentially come into play is sort of the scheduling of all of this. And normally when I look at our schedule at the beginning of the season, I thought this was a bad game because it's a trap game between two division games. You're coming off the Redskins game, playing the Giants the following week, and you're playing a non-conference game in between. Usually that's a disaster waiting to happen. It's sort of a letdown game. But the way the Eagles are playing, they can afford to have letdown games, and I don't really see them having a letdown game, so to speak, because there's really not that much to let down from. So if anything, it would be on the other side of the ball with the Ravens. They're not between two division games, but they are between two important games in the sense that they're coming off the Monday night loss to the New England Patriots, and next week they've got a huge division matchup with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So from that sense, it could be sort of a sandwich game for them. So that might be another factor that comes into play with this, but I still don't think that that's enough to make up for the real problems we have going into this game as relates to the matchups. It's for those reasons I really don't see how we're going to be able to score that much against this team. For that reason, I'm going to go ahead and pick the Ravens to win this game 20-9. I think we're going to struggle to get in the end zone, especially without having a guy like Darren Sproles. And a patchwork offensive line where it's going to be difficult to run the ball when we get down close. So for that reason, I'm going to say Ravens 20, Eagles 9. Let me know what you think. Do you think the Eagles have a shot in this game, or are you as hopeless about this game as I am? Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. I'll go ahead, check in after the game, and let you know what I thought. But like I said, I don't expect that we're going to be really celebrating anything great. But until then, fly Eagles fly.